An individual time trial is a road bicycle race in which cyclists race alone against the clock on flat or rolling terrain, or up a mountain road such as Alpe. There are also track-based time trials where riders compete in velodromes, and team time trials. ITTs are also referred to as the race of truth, as winning depends only on each rider's strength and endurance, and not on help provided by teammates and others riding ahead and creating a slipstream. The opening stage of stage race will often be a short individual time trial called a prologue. Starting times are at equal intervals, usually 1 or 2 minutes apart. The starting sequence is usually based on the finishing times in preceding races, with the highest-ranked cyclist starting last. Starting later gives the racer the advantage of knowing what time they need to beat. Competitors are not permitted to draft behind each other. Any help between riders is forbidden. The rider with the fastest time is declared the winner. Professional bicycle construction is limited by regulations covering dimensions and other features such as weight. UCI regulations at the professional level, time trials are frequently accompanied by motorcycles, some carrying video equipment or race officials, and riders may be followed by a team car carrying coaches and spare parts, but the cyclists are not permitted to draft behind the vehicles. Race regulations typically dictate a minimum distance behind the cyclist which the car must maintain and a minimum gap that must exist between two cyclists before the car may enter that gap. Individual time trials are often used as stages in stage races such as the Grand Tours. These vary from short prologue time trials over no more than 8 kilometers, to longer distance events over flat or rolling courses, to time descents of mountain roads. In the 1989 edition of the Tour de France, eventual winner Greg LeMond made up a 50-second deficit to runner-up Laurent Fignon over 24.5 kilometers during the individual time trial on the final stage to win the race by 8 seconds, the smallest margin ever. The Vuelta a España Plus or Minus often features a final individual time trial in Madrid in which the winner is often decided, providing much drama and excitement at the end of the stage race. In recent years, Oscar Sevilla and Roberto Heras have seen their lead evaporate in the time trial in Madrid. The Grand Prix des Nations was a semi-classic event. Professionals may also compete in the annual World Time Trial Championship. The individual time trial is also an Olympic event in which professionals are allowed to participate. Many of the top stage racers have also been top performers in the individual time trial, such as Eddie Meschx, Alfredo Binda, Jacques Anquetil, Bernard Hinault, Fausto Coppi, Laurent Fignon, Greg LeMond, Miguel Indurain, Jan Ullrich, Ivan Basso, Alberto Contador, Cadel Evans, Fabian Cancellara and Bradley Wiggins. Most recent winners of the Tour de France have been good time trialists. Exceptions include Marco Pantani, Carlos Sastre, and Andy Schleck, who are climbing specialists. Performance and tactics. To do well in an ITT, cyclists must maintain a steady power output for long periods, maintain a controlled heart rate for long periods, have a smooth, regular pedaling technique, position themselves to be extremely aerodynamic, discipline themselves to operate just below the anaerobic threshold until near the end of the course. Beginners are often criticized for putting in a J-profile effort, meaning that they often go out too hard in the beginning, compensate by reducing their efforts in the middle, and then realize towards the end that they have not put out enough effort during the race. As a result, the time trial is often considered the most difficult part of any major competition for young cyclists. Time trial equipment. Special aerodynamic time trial bicycles, clothing, helmets, aerobars and other equipment are often used in ITT events. Generally, components are designed to be as aerodynamic as possible, as most of the rider's effort goes into overcoming aerodynamic drag. The rider's position makes the greatest difference, and most use the now standard tug position, using trabars to allow the rider to position their arms in line with the wind and allow their back to sit as low and flat as possible, reducing frontal area and improving airflow around the body. TT bikes often have lower handlebars than normal road racing bikes to facilitate this. Also, The saddle is sometimes moved forwards relative to the handlebars and bottom bracket to allow the hips a more natural angle of motion, improving performance. Up until the late 1980s, low-profile bullhorn handlebars were used, and normal drop handlebars before them. Then in the late 1980s triathletes developed so-called tri-bars that allowed for a much better aerodynamic position. They were first brought into the time trialing public eye in the 1989 Tour de France when Greg LeMond overcame a 50-second deficit in the final day's time trial to win the Tour by 8 seconds from Frenchman Laurent Fignon. Fignon was using conventional handlebars, LeMond the new triathlon style. The concept has changed little since then, with only Scotsman Graham Abbree attempting to improve the idea. His arms under the torso tuck was revolutionary, helping him and others to break world records and win world championships. The UCI banned it in 1994, but he came back with a Superman position, an evolution of the traditional tri position, but with the arms fully stretched out in front. This was also banned, and there are now strict rules governing the dimensions of handlebars, which can make life difficult for taller riders who fall outside the defined parameters and must adapt their positions to fit the rules. Equipment used is very specialized, and component manufacturers can spend vast sums of time and money on wind tunnel testing to ensure their product is faster than the competition's. Deep section or solid disc wheels are often used to reduce turbulence around the spokes, but these can affect handling in windy conditions. In the UK, the front wheel must have a minimum of 45% open area when viewed from the side, for safety reasons. UCI events still permit the use of disc wheels for the front, but it is very unusual. Many components are modified for aerodynamic efficiency, and manufacturers are now developing more integrated systems, such as brakes built into the fork or frames so as not to disturb the airflow. Clothing is also different for time trialing. One-piece skin suits that do not flap in the wind are common. Tight lycra shoe covers help improve airflow over buckles and straps. Long pointed helmets channel air down the rider's back. Fastest Grand Tours time trials, fastest stage, Rick Verbrugge, 58.874 km per hour, 7.6 km prologue time trial 2001 Giro d'Italia. Fastest non-prologue stage, Ruba Copyright N Plaza, 56.22 km per hour, 38.9 km stage 20 time trial, 2005 Vuelta a Spa ±A. Fastest stage of Tour de France, Rowan Dennis, 55.446 km per hour, 13.8 km stage 1 time trial, Utrecht, July 4, 2015. Fastest prologue stage of Tour de France, Chris Boardman 55.152 km per hour Lille, Eurolil 1994, Chris Boardman 54.193 km per hour Dublin 1998 Fabian Cancellara 53.660 km per hour Londra 2007, fastest Tour de France time trial longer than 20 km, Greg LeMond 54.545 km per hour Versailles, Paris 1989 David Miller 54.361 km per hour Pornic, non 2003, fastest non-prologue stage of Giro d'Italia, Alex Czar 1/4 less, 53.771 km per hour, 40.0 km stage 15 time trial, 1998. UK time trial competition. The first UK individual time trial on public roads is reputed to have been held on October 5, 1895 over a 50 miles course just north of London, organised by Frederick Thomas Bidlake. For many years in the UK, time trials were the main road-based cycling competitions, and remain popular today. Organised by Cycling Time Trials, the main season is from March to September. Time trials are mostly out-and-back events. This has joint benefits of a smaller course being needed and the effect of any head or tailwind being nullified. Normally starting very early in the morning at weekends and usually on a Sunday, the standard distances of 10, 25 and 50 miles are yet to be converted to their metric equivalents. Traditionally schoolboys and juniors ride mainly 10s and 25s, leaving the longer distances to adults. See also, Time Trialist, Team Time Trial, UCI Road World Championships, a Euro Men's Time Trial, UCI Road World Championships a Euro Women's Time Trial. External links, media related to individual time trial at Wikimedia Commons. References